Welcome to the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast, where we fuel your motivation, gain expert insight, and elevate your life. Get ready to unleash your inner beast. Let the gains begin. We're going to cover, is bodybuilding for you? Now, there's a lot of topics we could cover on this subject. We're not going to cover all of them, but we're going to cover some of the most important that we feel.
So everyone loves the idea of looking like a bodybuilder. They want to have that physique. But is it truly for you?
Now, the first one we're going to cover, do you have your life in order?
So, is my job stable? Do I have a home that is stable? And can I cover my bills?
Yeah, the other thing you can consider too, are you going to be moving during your contest prep? I mean, you don't want to be 2 weeks out and you're doing loads of cardio, you're low calorie, and
Right,
you have to move, right?
right, that would be pretty tough. That's a lot of work. So, not ideal. Could it be done? Sure.
Another thing you can cover with is relationships. Now, this doesn't have to mean your significant other, okay? So it could mean good friends, it could mean parents. Anytime your relationship is not stable and secure, entering that prep, you can deal with a lot of stressors, right? And you don't want to be fighting with your significant other, with your mom and dad, and it might even be like a support issue. Like
Mm-hmm.
my parents initially, before they understood what bodybuilding was, they weren't supportive of me doing my first show.
Right.
So when you're bringing that up to your friends, hey, I'm going to be stepping on a bodybuilding stage wearing next to nothing. A lot of people don't really understand why anyone would do that or why it's important.
Yeah.
So when you were preparing for your first show, like, did you get any type of backlash or like, what did your parents think when you were initially, when you said, hey, I'm going to do a show?
My parents were supportive. I think it's more the people around me, including my parents, didn't really understand how much I had to do or how hard I had to work to do a show. It's kind of a scary idea to some people when you're doing lots of cardio and, you know, they don't understand. Well, can't you just skip the gym for a day? Can't you just come have dinner with us for Easter? And those things um, weren't an option at that time. To my first prep, I had no free meals really. I think I had one or two total. So it was really hard for people around me to grasp the concept of having to say no to certain things. Um, that's a big piece of contest prep, and if you're ready to do a show, is can you put up with the social pressure of
Mm-hmm.
those around you? I was so excited to compete that it really didn't bother me, going to a family wedding, going out to dinner with my family or friends, and bringing my Tupperware with me. But a lot of people feel embarrassed. Have you ever felt embarrassed bringing your food anywhere?
I think initially it was an adjustment. I think because people knew that I was dedicated to like track and field and other areas of my life, I didn't get the common questions like we hear clients get,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like people knew they could see the dedication. So I didn't really get too much backlash. They kind of just assumed like, oh, Chris is in prep, like that's just what he's gonna eat.
Mm-hmm. Right. What about alcohol?
That's one that was
That's a
really,
big social pressure.
yeah, that was easy for me because I've only drank maybe 3 or 4 times in my entire life. So that was already a thing for me. And, luckily that was already an established part of me that they already knew, oh, Chris doesn't drink. Don't even bother asking him. He's not going out.
That was different for my friends. They were used to me drinking prior to bodybuilding. So it took them a little while to understand that I didn't do it anymore and I didn't want to go out late at night. I was tired. So tell us a little bit then, what is your stance on alcohol and bodybuilding prep?
So because I've always really been against it, once I really learned the true effects of alcohol on the body, and especially too with the contest prep, how much, is really goes into it, and what you need to perform at your best, it's just, you just have to cut it out. It's just, there's just no exception. I mean, before, when I was talking to clients off season, hey, a glass of red wine, once in a while with your family at dinner, that's fine. But during a contest prep, especially when food's low, calories are low, you really need your hormones to be, really optimized as you're trying to create the best version of yourself on stage and be judged.
Hmm.
So as far as alcohol, it's safe to say that our stance is definitely keep it out of your contest prep.
Right.
Now, another topic, this is actually probably one of the most important, but when it comes to is bodybuilding for you or not, is going to be sacrifice. So, sacrifice, there's a lot of things that you have to give up, right? You've already talked about
We
alcohol.
already touched on alcohol. We already
Mhm.
touched on, meals out with family, friends, significant others, and having to say no to those at times. Are you a person that can sit with a group of people eating burgers and pizza and pasta and eat out of your Tupperware of chicken and vegetables or whatever it may be at that meal? Are you okay, and are you not going to be really unenjoyable to be around if that's the case? So you have to be able to give up those simple indulgences, and be okay with it and still be enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And like we always say, like, you chose to do this, right? You
Yeah.
chose to enter the show, which means you're trying to abide by all these bodybuilding rules and your coaches. So it's not really fair to kind of be in a sour mood or portray that to
Yeah.
your friends, family, your coworkers even, because at the end of the day, no one's forcing you to compete.
Yeah.
Right?
It's your choice. And, it's a privilege. Not everyone can do it. So be blessed and thankful that if you have the ability to do it, you can do it. So, and in turn, you don't want to say no to everybody and never do anything with anyone, because you'll push relationships out of your life if you just shut down. So you have to be willing to sacrifice and wrap your head around that balance of giving up things, foods and drinks. That's the main things. And being okay with that, being happy around your friends and family. Because, I mean, really, holidays, social occasions, it's not about food, it's about the people, right?
A couple other small things too, just to add before we get to the next one. As far as sacrificing, you're sacrificing some of the foods you love, right? Your favorite desserts, your favorite cheat meals. You have to be mentally strong enough to be able to give those up for the time being until you get to that show date. Another couple small things too, like if you're a big concert goer like we are, sometimes we've had to postpone a lot of concerts because it's too close to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't allow food in the venue, and it's like sometimes you can't go that 6 to 7 hours without a meal or amino acids or something. So
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I notice clients when I ask them, just a little bit about their daily life, a lot of them are giving up their screen time, their TV shows, their movies. Hey, when's the last time you've been to a movie? Oh, a year. So a lot of times just small things,
Mm-hmm.
are just added up in that box of things that you're sacrificing. You can do all those after the show,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be mentally strong enough, whether it's a 16 or a 20-week prep, to just realize that some of those things, they're still going to be there once you're done, right?
Yeah. Oh, I tell people all the time, like, there's no shortage of French fries and Oreos and donuts in the world. They will be there when the time is right. Because if anyone knows me, we know I love food.
Yep.
but it's just, when it's the right time. So, and I'm happy to give up those things for the goals I have. It's fine. I will have them, you know, when it's free meal time. So, and it's going to taste that much better. You know, movies, concerts, maybe you don't want to do it during a certain part of prep, but it doesn't mean that nothing can be done. But your mindset does have to be right to do those things during prep. And you can't have excuses.
Nope.
If you're an excuse person, this is not the sport.
It's not going to work.
It's never going to work. Chris's favorite quote. You can have results or you can have excuses, but you can't have both.
Nope.
So, navigating those social situations without excuses and staying on track. Another thing maybe you have to sacrifice is if you're a person who sleeps 8, 9, 10 hours a night, there may come a point in prep where you're not going to have that much time to sleep every night, just with the requirements of workouts and life. So,
yeah, you're getting things done. You're meal prepping the night before, then your body wakes up, and then it's time to do cardio, start your day, shower, get to work. So sometimes it's just,
get a lift in. Yeah.
You just do what you can and you get as much sleep. If you have time, you can nap. But, I mean, usually there is a sacrifice at some point when it comes to sleep. The other thing, too, she touched a little bit on jobs. I've always been in sales, so it kind of depends. You have to kind of look at your job as a whole, right? You have to see, like, well, number one, are you performing at your job? Like, are you going to be on a warning soon? Like, are you maybe in line for a promotion? And if so, that's going to require you to kind of level up and maybe learn a bunch of new skills that might be better after the contest prep.
So one of the things I think is big with a job too is, and we've seen it tons when we're creating meal plans for our individuals, is does your job allow you, like, if it's time to eat and you're hungry, because bodybuilders, what do? We eat throughout the entire day. So if your job doesn't allow you to have a quick 5-minute break to get a shake in, get a meal in, and that's not an option, that's going to be pretty tough, and it's going to be detrimental to a bodybuilding prep, correct?
Yeah. We've had a lot of clients, even currently, where their schedule is different than your typical 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So we've had to make certain adjustments so that way they can still get their nutrition once their shift is done. Mm-hmm. So that's another good point.
Yeah.
And as we kind of wrap up, one of the big things too to consider is bodybuilding for you. Can you handle losing? Right. Because bodybuilding, especially too as it's a growing sport, there's only one winner, right? If you're on a football team, guess what? If you win the game, your whole team wins. The coach wins, the chiropractor wins, everyone wins on that team. Well, at a bodybuilding show, there's one winner per class, and then there's one winner overall, right? So do you have the mindset? Like, do you have the patience to do what it takes? Because as you know, being in as long as you have, it's not an overnight success for most people, right? So that's a big thing to consider. And closing with the final topic, of course, is going to be the mindset.
Yeah. So mindset of dealing with, bodybuilding at the core is a longevity sport. It's patience. It's not an instant gratification. And I know a lot of people, I think that's kind of how society and media tries to make us as instant gratification. We want things now. Amazon Prime. Now. So that's not bodybuilding, unfortunately. But the beauty is in the progression, and you have to take the daily wins with the year-long wins. and you got to have that mindset. You got to have the patience. So, are you a patient person? Are you okay? Are you a gracious loser? Are you okay congratulating the person next to you if you didn't win? And then going back to the drawing board and trying again.
Yeah, those are a lot of great points, and like anyone who's been in the sport as long as we have, they'll tell you it's not easy. It's one of, if not
How
the
do
most.
you react to losing?
I
'Cause
absolutely.
You've done a lot of shows,
Yeah,
31 shows.
31 shows.
You didn't win them all.
I've lost most of them. Most of them. So I'm a big loser.
No.
No. But yeah, I try to congratulate my competitors, and then if I have certain emotions, which usually it's frustration, it's disappointment, sometimes it's anger, I'm going to take that off stage where, I'm going to take it to an appropriate place and just kind of try to just decompress.
To your wife?
Yeah, to you. So, yeah, and there's always going to be frustrations because it's a subjective sport, right? You have a panel of judges, the high and the low scores are dropped, and then you're left with the remaining score. So it's an opinion, right? It's a subjective sport. You might look the best on stage, but again, we got to leave it up to the judges. So at the end of the day, I try to help clients realize that just stepping on stage is a win in some form or fashion. There's going to be obstacles along the way. There's going to be things that you may have to overcome. So really, like you said, it's a privilege to step on stage, and you have to realize that you're not going to win every show because it's subjective. But if we
and just finishing a prep, let's talk a little on that, because that's one of my favorite things about competing. Because I haven't won all of my shows, but my favorite part about a prep is not necessarily always the stage day. It's I did it. I'm here. I did it again. I can do hard things. When I finish a prep, it's a huge sense of accomplishment, whether I'm the winner or not on stage. So, that's my mindset, I guess, is I just want to do my best and make myself proud, make my coach proud. So.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's great. It looks like we did unpack a lot here.
I got one more thing. I want to circle back a little because we touched on it very lightly. A big thing to consider when you are thinking about doing a show. Finances. Unfortunately, I wish everybody could do this sport. I wish everybody could experience it. But if you're getting into bodybuilding to make money, I mean, sadly, there's only so many people who make a lot of money at this sport as a competitor, and it is not cheap to do a show. So what are some of the expenses that a new competitor should expect?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously, circling back on before, you need to make sure that your job is secure. Mm-hmm. You have that steady paycheck. Some of us, like myself, I've worked a commission job for a long time. So if you're during a slow season, you might have to factor in, hey, do I have enough from commissions from the past several months to kind of cover these show expenses and any, emergencies that may or may not come up? Like, is my car going to break down?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, definitely it does differ a little bit between males and females. Obviously, we know that female suits, there's a lot more to them, and they're definitely a lot more expensive. Right. Okay, so that's something to consider. But of course, you have the obvious. You have the food. If you're a larger bodybuilder, like a heavy or a super heavyweight that's eating a lot of meat, that's going to get spendy. So you're going to want to utilize your Sam's Club and your Costco's, your Aldi, because you're going to be spending a lot on food. The next thing, of course, is going to be your general health supplements. There's a lot of good quality supplements out there, but there's a lot of them that are really poorly made, and we see the test results come up with poor test results. The label is not saying what should be in the product.
Yeah.
So good quality supplements are not cheap, and they are important too, especially when you get into contest prep.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the guys have to buy a suit or board shorts depending on what division you're in.
Yeah.
You have to think about the tan, right?
Hair and makeup for the women. But what's the very first thing a person should consider when they want to start a prep?
Great question.
A
A coach. Yep.
It's such a hard sport, and it's a stressful sport that hire someone knowledgeable and take that stress off yourself. Don't try and do it yourself. That's hard. As someone who has coached yourself, what is the benefits of having a coach versus coaching yourself?
When I started 22 years ago, I wish there were the amount of coaches that were today. I wish I had someone
different now.
I wish there was coaches available. I wouldn't hesitate. I would have hired someone with knowledge and a good reputation, and there's no question I'd be a lot farther than where I am today. So you need a good coach, and that also can translate to, like, you see a lot of posing coaches nowadays.
Yeah.
And the importance of posing, right? I mean,
yeah.
You can't get on stage and look like you haven't practiced.
Look like you're scared.
Yeah. So, you have to consider, does your coach offer posing sessions? Like, do they know what division? Can they teach that? Or do you need to outsource a posing coach?
Yeah, which is another expense.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, it just depends on, where you're at financially, how much you want to put in your first prep. We obviously know that a lot of the top guys, they're doing recovery work. Well, how deep do you want to get into that? Like, you have a chiropractor, you have a body work guy. We see people doing cryotherapy, which you have done.
Yeah, massage.
Dry needling.
Physical therapy.
Yeah.
We're high maintenance people. Another thing too is, where do you live, and is there a show nearby? What are the travel expenses? For us now, competing is more costly than doing a local show because we ultimately have to fly somewhere to compete, but that's an added expense. And so, that is one thing to heavily take into consideration when this is the sport for you. I would say the number two things are mindset and having your finances in order. Because it's pretty frustrating if you're a person and you're in the prep and you're trying to do it, and suddenly expenses become too great and you can't cover it anymore. It's heartbreaking is what that is. So just be prepared. Be prepared for that. That it's a privilege to do it, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah, 100%. We have seen that a lot, and it is unfortunate because
it's sad.
You never want to see someone struggling financially, and it's like, you want people to take part in a sport that's going to help elevate their life, make them a more disciplined individual, which can go into so many different areas of your life. And it's like, you want to make sure that you're prepared before you actually commit to a show, because you have all the expenses that we covered, and then of course anything extra like an emergency that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your car breaks out, maybe something in your house, something like that. So you want to be, financially stable and realize that, and that way there's no surprises along the way.
Yeah.
So that wraps up episode 1. I know we unpacked a lot here, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight on, is bodybuilding for you?
Feel free to message us with any questions that you have on the topic, and we would love to help you out. Have a great day.
And definitely subscribe, hit the like. Let's go.